Hello and welcome to this episode of the Australian Business Podcast. I'm Owen Rask. This podcast series is your field guide to growing and scaling your business. Whether you're just starting out or you're years into it and ready to exit. Your field guides, Zara McGuffey, Daniel Golubev, Jordan Kiddis, and myself are here to support you on your journey. Through these episodes, you will get inspiration from other business owners, get expert Q&A on the technical specifics and how that impacts you, and just hear from a community of like-minded individuals. If you like this episode, we would be so grateful if you shared it with a friend or a family member that may be running a business of their own. Let's get into today's episode.
Okay, welcome to this episode of the Australian Business Podcast. I'm Gemma Mitchell. I'm usually on the other side of the fence at the Australian Finance Podcast. And I'm joined by Drew Meredith, who is usually on the Australian Investor Podcast. So we're pretty excited to hijack the business podcast, I think.
We're mixing everything up today, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, we just go wherever they'll have us. So we're over on the business podcast today because we have both written books, and a common question is it a good business strategy? So I was really keen to find somebody else who has done this so that we can chat about, is it a good business strategy? Why would you do it? What does it cost? What are the surprises along the way? Because I think, I thought that it was a good business strategy. That was one of my major kind of considerations with doing it. Got some shocks. But yeah, I think it is something that a lot of people do consider, and I'd love to chat through it. So Drew, thank you so much for coming on the show and doing this one with me.
Thanks for having me. It's actually my first time on the business podcast too. So I only need to get on the property podcast now. I would have done all four at some point. So it's exciting.
We'll make it happen by the end of the year. We'll get you on the property podcast.
And I'm not sure if we're smart or crazy by going into the process of writing a book. I'm not sure. I'm not even going to, maybe I think we're going to get to it, how long it took to finish your book and then finish it to then get it to published and on the shelves. It's kind of incredibly time-consuming,
it is crazy,
taxing process, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. So I am very much still at the stage of my journey. It only just got released on the 27th of August, and I'm still very much PTSD. I will never write another book. It's one and only. But I know people do it multiple times, so maybe I will change my mind about that. But right now, I'm saying never again. Where are you sitting?
You're getting all the interview requests and everything like that? You're getting asked to be on the Today Show or anything yet? You kind of...
Yes, I've got booked Sunrise, something on Channel 9, The Payoff, which is a really good podcast. So yeah, that's all like really exciting, but it is very time consuming, and obviously I'm like trying to hold down a full-time job, but it's so exciting. It's so exciting. I'm so thankful for the opportunity, and I did really, really enjoy it. I'm very proud of it, but I learned a lot along the way, which I think is why, we really want to get into it. So let me start off with asking you questions. Well, tell the audience first, in case they don't know, what was the book or books that you wrote? How long ago? Where did it kind of start? Tell us a bit about what your side of things is.
I think I'm past that period that you're talking about where it feels like it was like 3 years ago now, but I'm pretty sure it only came out late last year in time for Christmas from memory. Mm-hmm. Not, apparently it was the second most gifted wealth management book, but there are only 2 in the list. So we were second, but we're also last on Amazon.
You can leave that part out. We'll get the editors to cut that bit out. It was second.
I think it sold reasonably well, but it's called The Golden Years. So we've kind of got this, and as you talked about, businesses, writing a book for a business where our financial advice business called Wattle. It's yellow. We talk about retirement being your golden years, and there's kind of a relationship and link there. But the title, The Golden Years and How to Plan a Happy and Financially Secure Retirement. So it's like reflecting on what has just turned over 20 years in financial advice for me and 25 for my business partner, Jamie, the other author. And it's very much, we've tried to, instead of just write tons and tons of text, and probably a similar way that a lot of people write in finance, is provide examples, case studies, lessons, anonymous kind of experiences to hopefully let people out there understand. I think so many people think they're different, they're incredibly unique in terms of their financial situation, what they're worried about, but there's so much commonality in financial advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's only so many strategies that you can do, so many ways that you can build wealth. So people learning from other people is really, really key. And if you can wrap up, 20 years of knowledge into a book that is a price point that most people can afford, when not everybody can afford financial advice, or not everybody sees the value in financial advice without case studies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's the biggest part, I think, is that when you think about writing it, we're not probably the same as yourselves. There's a lot of people looking for advice. There's so many unadvised people, and advisors kind of fall into the industry a lot of the time because they want to help people and they enjoy helping people. But there's only so many, whether it's compliance, the cost of delivering advice, the cost of running businesses, there's only so many people we can help. And if a lot of people only need a small, push in the right direction through something like a book to have, I think, a massive impact, particularly if they're reading it before they're getting into study to plan for retirement, as well as opposed to being in the middle of retirement.
Yeah, yeah. And that was pretty much why I was doing it as well. I was thinking, I do money coaching sessions, one-on-one sessions that are designed to be the stepping stone for financial advice for people that can't afford that. But I'm like, that's still $500+.
Yeah.
That's still a very much a luxury to be able to afford that, especially when you're going through something like a divorce or a reset, which is what mine's about. So mine started as an ebook just for my clients. And then, I was like, could probably, take away my social life for a couple of years and a lot of money and put it into a book.
Oh, so yeah, you had a base for it before you started. That's a better start than we probably had.
Yes, I did.
That's
so
good, yeah.
it was an ebook, it came from my divorce that I was I talk about it. I was completely out of control with what I could focus on my goals. When you're going through a financial settlement, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just channeled all of that into a book, and I was finding it really hard myself to get my money back to basics and things from untangling nearly 40 years of finance life. And I'm like, if I'm the expert in this and I'm struggling, how do other people do it? So mine started as an ebook. And then when I started talking to the publisher, I was kind of like, oh, look, it's already done. And they were like, nah, let's strip it all apart. So the real work actually began when the publisher, you're working with them and they've got amazing editors and they really took it to the next level. So I kind of thought, oh, it's already done. Here you go. But no, the lots and lots of work started then.
Yeah, it seems to always be the case. And I think we went in 3 different times, we had that many lunches with the publisher to try and work out what we should write on. And it seems like we, as advisors, we're very interested in investments. And we kept thinking, another investment book, shares for dummy, some of these things that give us, investment expertise. But it turns out that there's a lack of these kind of very basic rules-based, explaining basic retirement experiences at a level that people can digest. And it feels like there's a massive commonality between our books in different stages of people's lives. But
absolutely. When I handed my book over to the publisher, they stripped so much stuff out of it. They were like, this is too detailed. It doesn't. I kind of am one of those people that if you're going to give a little bit of knowledge, I think you've got to have it all. And they were just like, no, that can be future books. That can be something else. But yours is it can't be everything. So lots and lots of stuff actually got pulled out of it that I felt like, I really feel like that needs to be in it. But now I see the direction and what it is, what it's supposed to be. Their vision was just so different to mine. I loved working with a publisher for that reason, that I just got really, really clear on this isn't the book that somebody picks up because they want to be the next Warren Buffett. It's the person that gets back to the basics when they feel like that line's just so blurred. And I was like, I love, it's not just another book out there on how to, invest or whatever. It's let's just strip back let's unlearn all the things you've learned.
They're kind of dime a dozen. We're trying to get Owen to write. I'm not constantly telling him he needs to write a book as well.
Yeah, so I've already got the title for him. It's going to be called No Rask, No Return.
No Rask, no. There you go. I want to see the framework for that. He just constantly, he doesn't think he can do it, but we know he can. He writes that much all the time. I like this. Do you like physical books again? I went through this audiobook phase and I hate, just couldn't pick up anything physical. And now I feel like books are back. generally?
I honestly think books are back. A few years ago, I would have been like, I'm never writing a book. But now I feel like they're back. They're beautiful. It's an experience again. So yeah, I really like books, and yeah, I do think that I was like, it is a bit of a business strategy for me. Like, yes, I want to help people, but it will also show my expertise. It can like level up my career in different ways, and it'll be something that I'm really, really proud of as well. So yeah, there was so many layers to it. I kind of think I thought of it as, oh, it'll be an expensive business card. But then when I got into it, I was just, it really helped me also like define my messaging and what I'm about and how I explain stuff. Because as I said, I was a bit more like, you got to have all of the info and I want people to know all the options. And then I was like, no, but actually how I help clients is like cut through the noise. So what do I believe is the most important thing? So from a business strategy, so I paid a lot of money to get like a book coach and things that wasn't covered by the publisher. And I see that as like a pivotal moment in my business and my coaching and how I work with clients, because I got really clear on, well, how do I explain things, and yeah, what are my philosophies and what's my IP? So while it helped with the book, it helped in every aspect moving forwards.
I feel like, and it makes you narrow your voice and be very specific in what your voice is. And then once you, like particularly same as us for retirement, once it's retirement, everything is through the same framework. And then all the strategies, all the step-by-steps come back to that same framework, which just makes it significantly in explaining things to, and you also have to adjust your language because it's helped communicate with clients of all different, financial literacy levels as well. But the business card one probably resonates. I think that's what we saw it as. Like the Christmas gift, it's historically writing a book would bring credibility. Being able to hand over something that clearly costs even a little bit of money to a client brings automatic credibility. And it's probably more relevant. I feel like it might be more. We do a lot of online, of course. We like whether it's podcasts, YouTube. But even with that, it's not. There's no barriers to entry to be providing financial information online. Having something physical, particularly for that 50 plus, might be over kind of generalizing here, but having something physical is I think almost a passing of trust that we've seen a lot.
Yep. That level of respect, trust, credibility.
And we saw, so there's an interesting backstory where we're nothing compared to the person who founded our business. So we were originally called Donnelly Money Management, and a guy called Austin Donnelly owned that. He was the first independent financial planner or something like that, the story was. But he wrote like 38 books on every topic imaginable. We've got most of them, copies of them here. We constantly compare him to like the Owen, but Owen does 38 podcasts. He did 38 books, and it's like sensible share investing, retirement planning, and like all just constantly over and over and over. So we always had this kind of history within our business that it was always educational, content driven, and the book was just kind of the end piece of that for us. Or maybe not the start of the end, maybe, or the end of the start of a new journey. But it's been incredibly interesting.
So how long did it take you from the idea of what you wanted the book to be about? And then at what point did you get a publisher did you self-publish or did you get a publisher?
No, we went with Major Street, publisher, and we'd known Leslie for quite a while, who's at Major Street. So we'd actually catch up with her quite regularly. We'd have this idea, sometimes running a business is boring, so writing a book sounds sexy, and you're like, all right, we'll catch up with Leslie. We pitched her like 3 or 4 different ideas, and it was kind of like, nah, the framework, nah. And then it was nothing for a year. And then I reckon if we published it, it was late 2023 that we really narrowed down what the title was going to be and started working on the initial framework of the content. So basically we had a table of contents, what the sections would be, and then went backwards and forwards, cut it. And then the writing process was probably the editing was harder. So bringing consistent language across chapter and chapter. And then I had this issue
where that tone is very hard to keep consistent, especially when you're getting tired and over it. And you're like chapters in. I found it really hard to make sure I was consistent with the tone.
And you had to keep refreshing. And then if you 1 minute you're talking about investments, and then you go into a certain level of detail. Next minute you're talking about super or emotions or the experience of retirement. And it's to keep it was incredibly hard. There was a great is it copyright? I can't even remember the terms properly. That reviewed everything for us and kind of worked on that tone a lot. I remember, and this maybe was a surprise of it. I was making a salad in the final weeks of editing before we put it to print. And I sliced the tip of my, your index finger off with a mandolin. So I spent the final 2 weeks of editing with one less finger, trying to type everything with one less finger. And all the other fingers started to cramp. But I think the editing, like putting the book all together was probably 3 months or so. And then the editing was probably another 2 or 3 months, narrowing it down, rewriting chapters. Thankfully, Major Street organised someone to do all the referencing properly and make check all the numbers again and again. And I think, the way did you self-publish or did you?
No, I went with Wiley.
Well,
yeah. So I went with Wiley. I got a no from Major Street.
Yeah.
That divorce was too niche. And in the form that I spoke to them about, it's a very different book now. It's just that Wiley was let's work on it together. Let's pull it apart kind of thing. Whereas I think Major Street were like, oh, can we take it as it is or not? And they just didn't feel like it would have the market. Whereas now it's not just about divorce. It's so much broader. But
they were more investment driven at the time, weren't they? Quite a few investment kind of books and on that direction.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then evolves. And then you probably got enough fodder now to make another book out of it from everything you learned during the process. Just kept pulling stuff
out of it and going, that's on the next one. I initially thought maybe I'll self-publish. So I went, because I've had some friends that have written books before, and their advice to me was self-publish if you want to be more profitable. Whereas if you want the credibility, that level up, you would go with a publisher. So they were like, you probably won't make money out of the publisher, but you'd get the credibility. Being a first-time writer, not very well-known, that was quite interesting. So when I spoke to people about going self-published, getting the editor, doing all of that, it was going to be about $30,000. It was a big investment, but you get to keep the revenue and things, and yeah.
I think you feel your own sanity though while you're working. I guess you're still working full time, running a business. I think you can't self, but it's a lot of work, I'm sure.
There was so much more to it. Even having the Wiley support with marketing and their advice on different things, and it was really really supportive. But I think I fall in what I've learned is there's a few different categories. You can be self-published or you can be published, where the publisher pays you and is like, hey, let us have your book and, we'll give you the upfront and all that kind of stuff. Or you can be kind of in the middle, where is what I believe I was, where I'm with a publisher, Wiley, but I had to have skin in the game. I had to pay for my own my own PR, and I needed to buy a certain amount of copies. So it's kind of like this hybrid model where they're not fully convinced and they want, you to have some skin in the game. You're not famous enough to, I'm not the barefoot investor where they're like, please,
anyway.
Next book. I kind of feel like I was in the middle of the road. So it still was really costly. I would say, not including lost time on writing the book out of client facing hours where I can do different things, I'd probably say 20 grand.
Yeah. I think we would have been pretty similar as well. And we went the same route. Mm-hmm. Plus you got to add marketing and all the kind of things that pop up out of it. And I think that made sense. They would help with copyright. They would help with all those things. They help with some distribution, obviously, as well. Mm-hmm. But put a lot of the onus back on you.
I do have a heap of copies. And I do see it as that business pivot where I got really clear on my messaging and things. So I see it as an investment, and I see it as more of an investment now I've gone through it than what I thought I'd get out of it. I actually am just so happy with how it turned out, and, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm more than happy with it.
Yeah, we put it as a marketing expense, I think, as well, in putting putting the book together. How did you go with the cover? This might be a bit too specific. It's so difficult. There's so many opinions on design.
I'll hold it up. Yes. So I learned a very valuable lesson. So they sent me this cover, the background. So for anyone watching, it's blue and it's got like a scarf kind of waving in the wind, and it's called The Money Reset. I was like, yuck, what's that? I hate it. And the font was a little bit different. And I was like, nah, no way. And I did what they told me not to do and showed a heap of people to get their opinions. It's the worst thing that you can do. Yeah. But then what I said, I don't like that and I really don't get it. It doesn't resonate with me. What the publisher then did is they put that on a Pinterest board with all the other finance books that were out at the moment. There was like 40 of them. They put it and they said, look at this. And I was like, wow, look how great it looks. It stands out. So they saw a vision that I didn't see. And now I love the cover. We changed some font around that I'm much more comfortable with. But I hated it at the start. And I just had to put my trust in them. I did push back a little bit. But yeah, seeing that Pinterest board, I was like, you're right. It stands out so well. It looks, and now I just love it. How did you go?
White, isn't it? I mean, we've got, there were two of us, so there's always clashing opinions. And I just kind of go, I'm one of those people where I don't want to be the bottleneck. And if it's like,
are you picking your battles?
Yeah, I'm just like, I trust your opinion. You're the professional. Hopefully you won't do me wrong in this case. So I just let him go for it. It came, I could almost reach it. It's on a shelf just over here. But kind of plain basically. And it's all about the golden years. We had different ideas. Like you could do, but what stands out as you were saying on a shelf compared to everything else. And it's not like a beautiful picture because there's no context to a picture. It's not our faces on there or anything like that. It's just how do you get a clear message that's easy for people to understand and pull it out? And
there's just so much stuff you don't think of, right? Like, so my book didn't even have a name until the book was finished. Yeah. Because I had, when it was my ebook, I called it Breaking Up is Hard, but Building Wealth Isn't. Because it's about divorce, and they hated that.
That's not, you can't sell that one.
So the Money Reset, I'm so happy with it. But that was a big process. The other thing that really surprised me, and if we talk about marketing, is because I had to do a lot of the heavy lifting myself. Obviously, not that famous. I went out to a heap of people that I knew in the industry and was like, "Hey, I would really love to. I'm going to have a certain amount of books. I'd really love to gift you a free copy so you could read it. Maybe they'll recommend it. Maybe they'll show it on socials, whatever." So I compiled a list. The thing that I didn't realize is how expensive it is to post a book.
Yeah.
So I had 50 people to send free copies to. So those copies had cost me $15. And then the postage was $12 each. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you've just paid $20,000, and I was just at the post office, she was individually scanning 50. I was like, I didn't
You're better
really
off getting in the car and dropping it at everyone's houses and doing it a personal.
Yeah, so that was something that I didn't think of. I didn't realize how expensive stuff like that. And yes, I could go, I looked at Sendle and different places and they were $9. So I could have saved money, but I was also going, how much different could it be? I'll just go to the post office, and then it was too late.
It's easy. Yeah.
Costs like that I didn't realize. We're
offering free books. So we offer them on the podcast every week, and every week there's another 5, 6, 7 going out the door.
I gave 5 out the other week to people that sent podcasts in. I'm like, oh, that's another $60 in postage. Yeah. That's okay.
Oh, you think about it, how much it's got. You can hear the till ringing as you're saying the words.
That's okay. I made this for people to be read, to be enjoyed, to learn from. So I will take the hit on it. But these are just the unexpected things. Did you guys do an audio version? So you've said that you are loving hard copy, in actual books these days. Did you guys do a version of that?
We haven't yet. We actually had someone pitch to the podcast, I think to the 2 Cents, to be the voiceover for it, who is a professional voiceover specialist, I believe, but we haven't. We probably should, and we probably, maybe that's is it edition 2, because obviously the superannuation law has changed, so maybe we can read it out again, but with the updated super laws in there. But I just don't think. I think we were thinking of more as a business tool, so we didn't think about putting it on Audible and people reading it that way. Yeah, but I mean, it definitely makes sense. It's like when you get the you broaden it as much as possible once you've done all that work?
Yeah, so I did the audio version. So I was quite surprised. A different publisher picks that up. So you get an offer from a different publisher. So I didn't this is a whole new world to me. So they said, hey, we'd like to, produce it as an audiobook. And because I'm not that well known, they actually wanted to get a professional to do it. And we kind of went back and forth because I was like, I kind of think the only people that will buy the book, they've probably heard me on the podcast or on my socials. So it might make sense for me to be the voice. I've listened to some audiobooks where the author isn't the narrator and they say stuff like, when I work with clients, and I'm like, it's not you. And it stuffs with my head. So I was like, okay, but I had to audition for it. So I had to do an audition to narrate my own book, which was funny. People are like, what?
You passed? You passed?
I passed, yes, but I wish I hadn't have. So this is a big takeaway. I use ChatGPT a lot, right? So they said, if you get the job, you will get paid just the standard industry going rate for the hours that you record the book. And so I just ChatGPT, I was like, what's the standard industry rate? And it said $250 an hour. And I was like, okay. And they said, it'd be like 4 days in the studio, 8 hours. I was like, great. Okay, cool. So accepted. Thanks, ChatGPT. Finisher didn't read the contract properly because, I'd been sick of reading. And so I did it. It took about 40 hours to record in a little dark black room, and it's just stop-start. It's like you don't flow with the reading. It's very draining. It was very challenging. It's probably the worst week of my life. It was very, very hard. And then at the end of it, the pay rate was $125 an hour, and for the completed hours of the final book, which is 6 hours. So the takeout
is a lesson for the next book? Yeah.
Yeah. So the takeout here is read the contract. Don't trust ChatGPT on what the payment rate probably is. But yeah, I'm still glad I read it because I think that is good also for my business strategy. But that was really challenging. I didn't understand. I talk for a living. I didn't understand how challenging it would be to read it and just that stop-start. And I have a lot of respect for anybody that does audiobooks now because it was harder than writing the book.
Yeah,
the other tip that came out of that. Yeah. So the other tip, if anybody is going to write a book, no matter what you are going to write it on, the amount of times I edited this, I printed it out at Officeworks, printed it out, went through it, reading it. You need to read it out aloud because your brain, I still picked up errors in it when I was reading it out aloud in the audiobook recording that I hadn't picked up reading through it 100 times that the other editors hadn't, because your brain just guesses what's potentially going to happen. And also I've got lots of worksheets and activities and they don't really work with an audiobook version. So if there's ever another book, I will be reading it out aloud word by word or getting someone else to read it out aloud, not reading it in your head. And I will be thinking about how I write things to be read out aloud, not just read, because it's so different. It blew my mind.
And it feels like a lot of the market is audio now as well. Yes, a lot of people are enjoying traditional, analog books, but it feels like audio is still it's still one of the biggest parts. Everyone's always got a headphone in. So you need to think about it from multiple channels. Yeah. If
you love podcasts, of course, you're going to like an audio book. It's quick and easy in the car and different things. So yeah, I would write it very differently thinking, hey, this is going to be an audio book version.
Yeah, fantastic. And you're doing another book? You're not there
yet. Definitely not. What about you guys? What was your biggest learning and are you going to do another one?
I mean, how royalties work is kind of interesting. Where you get paid based on the initial sales, I think, and then if books are returned, you have to pay some of your royalty.
Yes.
I believe is the case. Yeah, I don't.
So please, nobody return books.
But it does help you with the initial distribution. Getting in there. It was good to be in the what do they call it? Hot new books. We're in the hot new books in
month picks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
in the airport, that was kind of cool. Walking into the airport and taking a selfie with your book at Sydney Airport. I think it wasn't there in that part for too long, but that was fun. I think we're planning on flipping it again and doing almost lessons from advising 1,000 families in retirement, or like that seems to be popular at the moment. I caught up with Beck Wilson recently as well, which is like almost lesson and framework based. So this was like case studies, very short case study, and then into the detail of that, of investments, of super funds, of contributions. So this might be more of very specific examples of people we've worked with over the years, anonymized, and what small changes and mistakes they made, and make it very much, walking through individual cases, which I think hopefully can be valuable too. That's the next idea. And whenever I get bored, it kind of pops up again. But
just start chipping away at it.
Yeah. And then I just don't start and I get onto something else, because it is just once you start and once those deadlines start coming in, particularly if you've got a publisher, then it's like, all right, we need it by then. And then once you work to deadlines, like anyone, I'm always waiting until the week before or the day before to really finish it off.
Work better under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Don't we all?
Another thing that I learnt along the way is, so I was always working off one document, a Google sheet. It had the whole book in it, and I had the chapters down the side. I was really struggling to finish it because every time I opened the document, I was back at the start and I'd reread that. The amount of times I reworked the intro and worked on those first few, and then was so burnt out to even finish the next chapters. So when I got a book coach, she was like, absolutely not. What you do is intro one document, chapter 1, chapter 2, everything gets their own chapter. So once one's done, you're not opening it up and accidentally looking over stuff. You're only ever opening the chapter you work on. That was the best tip that I got in that process, that I tell everybody. If you're going to write a book, break it down into the chapters so you're not constantly just reworking the one that you open it on, and then never like getting too burnt out to finish it. Like that was me with the tone, right? By the end of it, I was just like, chapter 12, I just want to get it done. And the tone was totally different to the first. So I had to have those separate files for each one, and then a separate ideas one. That didn't make sense initially, but once she said it and I realized picked up on the behavior that I was doing, the constantly rewriting the same section, I was like, okay, that makes so much sense. So big tip, if you're going to write,
from the beginning,
break it up.
We did
this
the
is
table
me
of
like 2
contents,
years
the
out.
sections, and then every chapter, then you just tick it off. Send that to the editor, the copywriter, and then let them take, comment on whether the tone's right or not, and then go change it. We were so busy, it was just like, get that one done, focus everything on that, and I was just ticking off chapter at a time, and that was kind of it's nice to tick things off and then try not to look at it again.
Love, ticking list. I just kept reworking the same, overthinking it. But eventually you just have to go, this is done.
And don't do it around end of financial year, because that's when everything changes. And it's kind of, make sure you're doing it like to get out in December or something, and then you've got a full 6 months before you have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I think like the books that have the evergreen content is really important. Or even if if your business has some specific rules and things like finance does, if you're going to write a book, putting where you can check the updates. So for example, being like, this information's accurate for here. To check future updates, you'd go to the ATO website. Like telling people where they can find different information, I think is really handy. But like with finance, this information kind of can go out of style pretty quickly, or out of correct. There's actually an error in my book about super rules, and I'm the super guru. So I don't know how this happened. Yeah, nobody's found it yet, but I found it when I was reading it out aloud.
Oh, don't tell us what it is.
No, I want to. I've got to let people know that I know it's wrong. But what happened is there's a rule coming next year in July, that super will be paid every payday, and currently it's not. It's still quarterly. When I first started writing it, that rule was supposed to come in 2025, and it hasn't. It got pushed back. So it still says, as of now, because the book was coming out after, but it's actually a year away. But I'm like, I don't think anyone will know. Only finance people know.
That's the federal government's fault. Yeah, that's fine. As long as it wasn't contribution cap or something like that, that's fine. It's expensive.
It's like everybody gets 5 properties capital gains tax free. Go nuts. It's nothing that is detrimental to your finances. But I'm like, oh, this is so annoying. Like I read this so many times and I still didn't pick it up. That's what I'm also saying with, getting other people to help you read it, because your brain tricks you into what it thinks. Is if it's read it a heap of times, it's just going through the motions. It's not actually clearly seeing the words. So having separate documents will really help you. Reading it out aloud is painful, but it will help you see, your tone and the words very, very differently.
I think it's like from a business perspective, having a book that can be left behind, that, sits on a coffee table, sits in a board, like in a waiting room, wherever it happens to be, can be the most valuable part, because in our industry, people, like, it's hard to market to someone to make them make a decision to get advice. Something has to trigger them. And at that point in time is when they seek an advisor or advice in general. So it's kind of being in there and around when something like that occurs, an inheritance, a death, anything, as you've talked about, a divorce as well. And then having something that stands out or a friend has on the table, that's where the opportunity comes from, I think, from books for financial advice business, probably a lot in service businesses as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that has that expertise, because, when we hand over a business card, they just go straight in your wallet or in your handbag, but you've actually got this reminder. So yes, I did absolutely love it. I enjoyed the process to a degree. I can say that now it's over. It's kind of like a renovation when you're doing it. You're
cathartic.
just like, I'm never doing this again. And then afterwards you're like, wasn't that bad? But I think if people are going to do it, they need to be really aware of the structure, how they're going to do things, those little tips to make their life easier, and have a really clear understanding of all the costs that are going to go with it, not just time out of your business, but depending on the structure and things you're going to do, it's a big investment, time-wise, and actual outlay of money.
And worthwhile, 100% worthwhile, particularly. I think for me, for you, I'm sure as well. And I think if there's one thing, and we were good at this beforehand, is knowing what you're good at or knowing where your skill is before you even start writing it. You'll narrow it down even more. But knowing retirement, which meant we didn't really have to talk about insurance. We didn't really talk about mortgages. We didn't try to be everything to everyone. We just covered a very specific topic, and that made it so much easier to write and be consistent, I think, in tone throughout.
Yeah. So one of the things so when I met with Major Street and their feedback was like, it's too niche. I think I got a lot in my head about that. And then when I worked with the next publisher, they were like, you need to write with one person in mind. Who is this book for? And write for that person. And I was kind of really confused with that, because I'm like, I'm trying to be really broad. And then I went too broad. But yes, you have to know your niche, who you speak to, and it will automatically capture so many more people than you're thinking of, but it just helps you with why am I writing it, how am I writing it, the language that you use. And then, the net's really wide regardless for these types of topics, but just, having that avatar of like the persona in your head of who is the person I imagine writing this. And for me, it was like myself. It was a lady who was 40, just gone through divorce and going, what the hell, what the hell am I doing, kind of thing. But now it helps anyone, and even couples. It's just, that made it a little bit easier.
Oh, fantastic. That's where ours was, married, or it was actually built for multiple groups. So there's examples of married couples, there's examples of single, there's examples of widowed throughout the whole book. So, but it was very much either 50 plus or in retirement. And that, it makes my whole life easier, as I'm sure it does. As soon as you have a very specific approach, you only have to think one way.
Absolutely. And with mine now, the types of clients that I'm getting for these one-on-one sessions, the money coaching, they are all, it's like a funnel for that person. And these are the clients that I love working with, love working with anyone, but it's kind of like my niche at the moment. And already it's probably from the marketing, right? Like it's all, these clients are just
the market
into
what you're good at,
what I
and
do,
where you add value. Yeah, that's just the perfect
and that
way
I've
to
gone
narrow
through
down
it
that
perfectly.
voice.
I've gone through it personally. So it is having a knock-on effect. Hopefully I'll make this money back pretty soon with the clients. That's the goal anyway, right? Well, Drew, thank you so much for doing this episode with me. I'm hoping that it's given our business community some ideas on what goes into writing a book, why you would do it, why they might do it, and some realistic expectations of it. Hopefully it hasn't turned anybody off it. As I said, I'm saying I'm never again, but I might. I really enjoyed it. And you're definitely doing another one.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll probably start this year. I'll get a table of contents done, whatever you call it, a framework done this year.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me. It was fantastic.
I'm at Owen to get his out. And if he doesn't do his, maybe I'll do it. It'd be an biography.
A pseudonym or a biography.
Like, do it yourself, otherwise I'll do it about you.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to get him into it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Drew, thank you so much. And thanks for listening to this episode of the Australian Business Podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Australian Business Podcast. If you want to work with us in a more structured way, or you just want to get some of those great resources we mentioned, you can follow the link to go to the Australian Business Podcast landing page, where you'll find resources for every episode, as well as a full catalogue and links to resources that are frequently mentioned on the program. We include resources like courses and materials and workbooks that you can download and use to improve your business. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Australian Business Podcast. Thanks for watching this episode of the podcast. If you want to hear more from us, you can get daily videos and podcasts on Rask's YouTube channel, or if you want to enroll in a free course on investing, property, business, money, you name it, you can join over 34,000 other students and enroll in a free course on the Rask website. Simply head to www.rask.com.au and follow the prompts. Thanks for watching this Rask podcast.